Okay, update time. Go Knights. The engine, I got about a little over half a tank of fuel in it. There's no perceivable loss of oil, which is better than what I had before. I won't know for sure until I really can accurately put down a lot of miles on it. At least a couple hundred miles with no perceivable loss of oil. That's a plus. I checked the valve last just because of time. One exhaust valve was a little bit tight, so I set that. All the rest of them were either right or a little bit loose, which I prefer to be a little bit loose on the valve lash. So what we're going to do today is baseline the compression. I had done this a long time ago when the engine was on a test stand, but now that's in the car. I've got the car's warmed up. It turned off it's been cooling off for a couple hours, but the engine's still good and warm, which I think you want to test the compression when the engine's still warm. I've got the throttle block wide open. I've taken out all the spark plugs. I've got the remote starter hooked up, and I'm documenting the status. So I put down the date, warm engine. I'll put wide open throttle, N47 head, N42 block. Today's date, 5/23. I'm just going to go through cylinders 1 through 6. I start with 6 and go to 1. Anyway, I'll go 1 through 6, and I'll document the compression, see how it's looking. That way we'll have a baseline to keep hanging on to, and I can just maybe have something for future reference. We're going to do that right now, so stand by. All right, spin you down here so you can see what's going on, get you in on the action. Stand by. And that ought to do it. Zoom you in a little bit. Okay, so I've already got number 6 hooked up. I've got the remote starter hooked up, compression gauge hooked up. Let's make sure we're in neutral. Anybody ever do that before? Bump it over with it not in neutral. And let's give her a go and see where we are. You can see that. Whoopsie, got to do that better. 175. I'll tell you what. I'll just hold it. I'll hit a couple more times. Yep. Okay. Hope you can see that. Just over 175. That's number 6. Number 5. It's a lot better than it's at least 10 psi higher, maybe more, 15 psi higher than I had with the other head and the other engine. Of course, what you really want here is consistency, obviously. So let's run this one up. Okay. Maybe a hair higher, I'm going to say 177. On number 5. I think I'm going to try it without the throttle, and then I'm going to add throttle, see if it really makes any difference or not. Okay, so we'll do it without throttle first. Right at 175. Go to full throttle, hit it. Yeah, added about, a couple pounds, a couple psi. I'm not going to bother with the throttle anymore. It doesn't seem like it's worth it. Anyway, I'd say about 175. So we're we're going to just eliminate this nonsense. I don't think the opening and throttle makes a hell beans bit of difference. And I don't want to do that because I slammed the hood on that thing one time. Not good. Okay, so we'll just keep rolling. I'll add a couple PSI just to the number to make up for it, since I already wrote down wide open throttle. Okay, we're going to go to number 3. You see that? Yep, I'd say 175 on that one. I just want that thing to short something out. Number 3 is 175. Again, you really want the consistency. That's what it gives a smooth idle. Get a weak cylinder in there. When it hits that cylinder, you can kind of pick up on the slight drop in power, just enough to shake the engine. Okay. Let's go. This is number 2. $175 right on it. So I think that 175 seems to be the number du jour. And this is with the dished pistons, not the flat tops. These are the dished pistons. If I had the flat tops, it'd probably be too high. I'd probably have a problem, but I don't know. Okay, last one, number 1. $175. So we're pretty much right on the nose on every one of these. That's great. Okay, so there's your numbers. I'll keep this, and if I ever have an issue, or maybe a year from now, or just I get bored one day, I will do another recording. Also, since we've got the spark plugs out, we must take a look at these. Now, these were not brand new, so I don't really know. I really should put brand new plugs in before we do any kind of analysis. This is number 6. The light tan's got a little bit of black, but there's absolutely no oil along the threads, and that blackness there just wipes off pretty easy. So I think that looks pretty good. Again, I need to put new plugs in for sure. That one's a little bit wider. Let's take a look. There's number 6. There's number 5. They're real close in color. Let's look at number 4. He looks nice. Number 3. They all look about the same. That's another good indicator. Number 2. That one's getting a little white on the top there. I think they're all a little white on top. Let me see. Oh yeah, they're all a little bit the same. And number 1. So he looks like the whitest one of the bunch as far as the insulator is concerned. But yeah, everything's looking good. Nice and dry around the threads. So that's a good thing. So I'll button this all back up. And like I said, I've already done the valve lash adjustment. I set them all up on the loose side. You know, the loose side of the cold setting. Theory there is I'd rather have it clack a little bit than have the valves tend to tighten up over time, so I'd always prefer to have it be a little bit on the loose side rather than and the valve closing than on the tight side where the valve doesn't completely close and you risk burning a valve. That's just my own personal thoughts on it. But yeah, it's looking really good. I'm very happy with this setup. And like I said, let's take a look at the oil. Let me get a wipe here. I can wipe it off and show you where the oil is. This oil, I think, was changed back in February. On my filter, I have a note that says February 2023. So it has, all it has on that since February is some short bench running, you know, on the test stand, and then the few hundred miles I've got on this right now. But you can see it hasn't moved at all. It's still above, it's up right to the H is where it was when it's typically filled. So, and the oil itself looks very good. In other words, there doesn't appear to be any kind of fuel contamination, doesn't smell like gas, doesn't have any excessive blackness like it's getting you know, carbon byproducts mixed in with it, which the other one tended to do pretty quickly. In other words, the engine that came out of here, that oil would start to go south looking pretty fast, you know. I think I think the cylinders were getting washed, or it had a lot of blow by. I don't know. We won't know for that. We won't know the real story on that until we get the engine torn down. And by that I mean before I'm gonna pull the head off and take the pistons out and look things over. Although I'm not really hyper motivated to make that happen real quick, because what's the point? You know, if this engine works out as well as it looks like it's going to work out, I'm in no real hurry to tear the other engine down just for the fun of it. You know, maybe I'll just leave it together, and I'll make a note of it that, you know, it's a core engine, and not really do anything with it, because after all, the real goal here is to ultimately put the turbo engine in it. This engine's just in here as a, you know, as an experiment to see how good it is, especially how good it is with that head. You know, I really wanted to test out that head and see how well that all worked. You know, I'm interested in the gas mileage. Here's the, just if you want to know, here's the bump switch. It's something I picked up over at Sky Junk, and I clipped that onto the post on the starter that's always positive, and the little spade connector for the starter. So that's my remote starter. So I'm going to go through and tighten up the spark plugs and put it all back together. Everything's looking really good so far. I just wanted to document that and show you the compression test of the final product. I've got no oil leaks. I've got no coolant leaks. Everything's looking really solid. So I'm very pleased with the way this thing turned out. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.